Oh, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we have stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. I will talk about the joys of doing nothing, something that is kind of rare for me. We will answer a listener question or a viewer question in which they ask me, what is the worst thing that has ever happened to me? It took some thinking because there have been several things, but we're going to get into that. And then, of course, we have your feedback. Where is your feedback? In hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get going. All right, so upcoming videos. There are many things that are in the works here, and I'm kind of waiting on some things. But the thing you can look forward to this week is the first impressions video for Fribourg and Treyer Special Brown Flake. And this is another one of those blends that surprised me quite a bit. I had an initial surprise when I first cracked the tin and took a whiff, and then another surprise when I actually started, getting into the bowl. It surprised me twice. So you should definitely check out that video. That will be posting this Wednesday on Stuff and Things. And then the full review will be either a week or two after that. It depends on a lot of other things because I'm waiting, number one, for that special notebook system that I am really anticipating. It is coming from Germany, and I've got to say, Germany, I thought you were the kings of efficiency, but my package has been sitting in Frankfurt for, I think since like the 25th, so it's been a week and a half. Come on, let's get a load out. Let's get that package across the ocean and into my arms, please. I would like to review this notebook. And it's gonna be a while too, because I wanted to actually use the notebook for a while before I did the review. So in hopefully the near future, we're gonna be doing this really cool notebook system from Germany. There was also a knife that I wanted to review. And I thought this would be cool because the very first video I ever posted on this channel was a knife review. And I think the second video I ever posted on this channel was a knife review, a really cool traditional slip joint pocket knife by Great Eastern Cutlery. The knife that I want to review now is not a Great Eastern Cutlery knife because those are almost impossible to get these days. As soon as they release a batch, people grab them up. But it's a knife that I thought was going to be really cool, and I actually received it, and then there was a problem with it. And so I sent it back, and I'm hopefully going to be able to get a replacement. So that will kind of go into the review as well, whether or not you can trust this knife manufacturer. We're going to be getting into that hopefully soon. I don't know if I'm going to get it back maybe next week, maybe the week after. So, we've got the notebook, we've got Fribourg and Treyer Special Brown Flake. The first impressions definitely coming up this week. The full review maybe the week after that if I don't get any of these other things in. And then, of course, Elden Ring is continuing on Stuff and Things Plays every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And please, did you check out it's not really a review, but sort of an overview of the new bass I got, the Fender JMJ Road-Worn Mustang bass. Really cool instrument, and I did a video on that last Wednesday. So if you haven't checked that out, please do so. Excellent. So last week on Monday, it was Memorial Day in the US, and that is where it's a national holiday. And it's usually a day off. We don't always get that day off in the construction trade. We definitely always get Labor Day off, but not always Memorial Day. It kind of depends. But I had it off last week. And, typically my weekends are very busy. So on a Saturday, I'm doing the cleaning and the shopping and the things that I need to do around the house. And then I'm also working on recording videos for Stuff and Things and editing things for Stuff and Things Plays. I'm often recording videos for Stuff and Things Plays during the week as well, trying to get posts ready, trying to do thumbnails, trying to answer comments or at least read all the comments, answering emails and correspondence and Patreon messages. And so by the time Saturday evening rolls around, it's time to go do something with my fiance, go to dinner or maybe have drinks somewhere. And then Sunday, at least in the morning, is spent doing posts and making sure that everything is going okay on the channels. And so I typically have maybe half a Sunday on the weekends to I don't even know if I could say relax, because I'm always doing something. I'm either like practicing guitar, or which is, I guess, relaxing, but I'm always working on some sort of project or occupying myself with something. And last weekend, I think I had half the day off on a Friday, which was cool. So I was able to get some chores done that Friday afternoon. Saturday was able to get pretty much everything else done. And so I found myself with a Sunday and a Monday where I didn't have to do anything if I didn't want to. And I didn't. I didn't do anything. And it has been so long since I just let myself be lazy. And I know that I'm the kind of person who I'm always interested in something. There's always something that has my attention. There's always something I want to be looking into. There's always something I'm pursuing. And there are all sorts of things that I kind of regimentedly make myself do throughout the week. I need to work out. I need to practice guitar every day. There's all sorts of things. And for me, that definitely makes me feel contented. Like, oh, if I've done these things on this day, then that means that that day was not wasted. I accomplished something. And so in some ways, it's kind of hard for me to not be doing something. And in many ways, I think I would be kind of miserable if I spent most of my time being lazy. But I guess every once in a great while, having a couple days in a row like that where I didn't really do anything at all. On Sunday, I went and got a massage, which I hadn't done in, God, maybe 2 years or something. That was cool. And then I just kind of just lounged around. All the cleaning was done, all my chores were done, all the shopping, didn't have to work out, didn't have to do anything with the channels. I had gotten all that done. I watched YouTube videos, I played some games a little bit, I did some reading. I guess I did play guitar and stuff, but that was just for fun. I wasn't like, drilling some lesson or something. And it was amazing. By the end of it, I was okay, like, okay, I've done that now. I've done nothing. Can you do nothing? Does that actually make sense from a philosophical standpoint? I guess so. And not that I was like ready and rearing to go back to work on Tuesday, but it was like, okay, I'm back into my life, the things that I have to do every day. For those 2 glorious days, that was actually really cool. And I'm curious because in my mind, I feel like a lot of people do nothing a lot of the times, just from talking to other friends or other acquaintances and stuff, where it's like, oh, I got off work and then I watched Netflix for 4 hours in the evening. And I'm always just mildly flabbergasted. And it's not that I'm looking down on these people or anything, but I'm genuinely fascinated by that idea. Like, really? You just sat there and watched Netflix for 4 hours? Was that enjoyable? Did you like that? And so, I don't know, I guess it's this weird sort of thing of me seeing how the other half lives or something, where it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to be lazy for a couple days. And I guess maybe everybody needs that every once in a while, a little recharge of the old batteries, but that was pretty cool. I'm curious though, do you guys ever have the chance to just do absolutely nothing? And if you do, does it end up being something that you actually enjoy, or do you just feel kind of frustrated and unfulfilled and you want to get back into your routines, your hobbies, all the different things that you fill your days with? Curious. All right, we have a question. This one is from Bob via Twitter, and Bob direct messaged me and asked me, he said, this might be a good topic for you to discuss on the show, but what is the worst thing that has ever happened to you? And he imparted something that had happened to him in the recent past. And it's interesting because I live in a place where, for the most part, things aren't going to be horribly difficult for you. I'm in a developed country. You don't have to worry about famine or drought or getting clean water or all these different things. There have definitely been things in my past that I could say were pretty horrible that happened, but I'm probably not going to talk about any of those things that happened in my childhood, things that have, involve family or deaths and things like that. So all the things that probably are the actual worst things that have ever happened to me, I'm probably not going to talk about those things. So then since I had taken those off the table, I was trying to think of anything else, like what could I talk about on the episode that could be considered the worst thing that ever happened to me, even though it's not really the worst thing that ever happened to me. And the one thing that did come to mind, and I think it's probably one of the times in my life where I felt the most helpless and lonely and just kind of defeated. And that was way back in the day. I was a spry young lad of 18 years old, and I was going to be going to the University of Southern California. And I lived in Bellingham, Washington at the time. I had never really been anywhere, really. Like, we had lived in Oklahoma for a bit when I was a really little kid, and we had lived in Oregon for a little bit. We went on vacation in Eastern Washington. We never went anywhere else, really. I had never been to a city bigger than Seattle, which to me at the time seemed like a very big city. And so I was supposed to go down to Southern California and to Los Angeles. I had a car that was horrible. It was a 1986. It was super old even at the time, a 1986 Nissan Pulsar. I'll put one up here so you can see. This was not my car, but I just got a random picture of a Nissan Pulsar. It looked basically like that. And I wasn't smart enough, or at least experienced enough, to know whether or not this car should actually be driven the however many miles it is, 1,400, 1,500 miles from northwestern Washington to Southern California. Back in those days, did not have GPS on phones or anything like that, so I think I had a map. I was, at that age, maybe overly confident. I always felt like I could do anything. And for the most part, I could do things. If a problem came up, I could usually solve it. But my parents didn't have really any money to help me with. Nobody was going to be going with me. I was just going to be alone, driving down to go to college. And so this was the height of summer. It was in late August. I packed all my worldly possessions into this Nissan Pulsar, and I started driving. And pretty immediately, I think by the time I hit Oregon, I was starting to have car troubles. Didn't really know what those car troubles were. Like I said, I was only 18, didn't really have any experience fixing cars, but I was getting some stalling every once in a while. It was running really rough. Didn't really know what to do. There wasn't really anyone I could kind of turn to and ask advice from or anything. So I just kept going and got to like Central California, or it was kind of near Bakersfield, but I was on Interstate 5, and Bakersfield is a bit to the east of that. And this is in a really dry, deserty part of California that's very hot. And at the time, I think it was like 112 degrees Fahrenheit was the ambient temperature. And just the heat of the sun baking off the roadway. I'm sure it was even hotter on the ground. And I was driving down the freeway, and the car just finally stopped dead. And I sort of coasted to the side of the freeway to the off-ramp, or near the off-ramp, but I couldn't quite make it to the off-ramp. And I was like, what do I do? I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't know, like, I don't think I was even very close to the off-ramp. I'll have to remember that. I think it was far enough away that I didn't even see an off-ramp. And it was just, you look out over the freeway and it's just this haze of heat rising. It's hotter than I had ever been in my entire life. I'm from the Pacific Northwest. It never got anywhere near that hot. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can try to push my car a ways. Like, that was the only thing I could really think of. And so, this is a major interstate in the United States, and cars are just flying by at like 70, 75 miles an hour. And I'm on the shoulder by the side of the freeway. I've got my door open, one hand on the steering wheel and one hand just on the B-pillar, pushing the car, trying to push the car. Made it a while, because there was a little bit of a grade, or at least it wasn't uphill. And finally, something started happening that I had never experienced before in my life either, where my vision started getting wavy. My hearing started kind of going in and out. And then suddenly, before I even knew what was happening, everything went black. And I woke up, I don't know how long later, and my arm really hurt. I didn't know what was happening or where I was. There was some blood on my forehead, and I was laying kind of half in the freeway, like at least one arm was in the lane of traffic, like the right-hand lane of traffic. My car was a bit of a distance ahead of me, and it took me a minute to realize sort of what had happened, and I was sort of in a fog. I looked up and I could see cars coming towards me, putting on their turn signals to change lanes to avoid hitting me on the road. And I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, I guess that's California, huh? Because in Washington, someone I felt fairly sure would have stopped to see what was going on. Turns out that I had passed out from heat stroke and had run over my own arm with my own car because I had fallen and then the back tire had rolled over my arm. I had hit my head on the pavement. I remember there were ants on me, like on the blood on my forehead. And so here I am, this 18-year-old kid, all my worldly possessions in this car that doesn't work, don't know how to fix it, don't know what's wrong with it. I'm in the middle of a place I've never been. I don't have a cell phone. I don't know what to do. I had almost no money too, and my parents didn't have any money to give me. And so I was a little worried. I didn't know what to do. And I think that was one of the lowest points. I mean, since then, more important things have happened with real emotional heft and real, I guess, consequences. But at the time, for where I was and how old I was and inexperienced I was, like, I was just like, well, I have no idea what to do. I have never felt so helpless, so lonely, so completely unable to do anything for this situation. So that was probably one of the worst things that ever happened to me, at least one of the worst things that I'm willing to talk about on this channel. Finally, I can't remember, I think I kind of got up. Somebody did stop eventually, and there were this family in this like station wagon that was just packed with stuff, and they said, "You okay?" And I was like, yeah, and then they drove away. And then eventually a tow truck stopped. And I don't know if like somehow they heard that I was there or what was going on, but it was this guy from Oklahoma in a tow truck. He hadn't come from Oklahoma. He was originally from Oklahoma. And he said he could bring me to a repair shop. And I was like, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't know what's going on. I think I had just enough money to pay him for the tow. He brought me to this tow place, or to this repair place. The guys there took pity on me and just kind of looked at the car without charging me and said, oh, it's your alternator. It's going to be, however much to fix it. I, of course, didn't have that much. But he said, I'm going to charge your battery for you. There is an auto parts store up the road. If you can make it there before your battery goes dead again because your alternator's not working, you might have enough money to buy an alternator there. So we did that. I went there, by that time it was night. I had no lights or anything. And I coasted into this auto parts store. I asked for an alternator. Like, I had no idea. I'd never done anything like this on a car. I'd never fixed anything on a car. I was able to purchase one. They loaned me tools, and very late at night with a flashlight in my mouth as a little 18-year-old, I changed the alternator on my car. And it worked. But then I was stranded there. I don't even know where I was at the time. Anyway, like, I managed to get out of that situation. My car still wasn't really running, but it was running enough to get me into Los Angeles. And I made it to school. So there you go. Not really the worst thing that has ever happened to me, but one of the times in my life where I felt the most helpless and just kind of threw my hands up like, what am I going to do? But now, gang, it is time for hashtag askstuffandthings, and that is where you send me questions, comments, feedback. You can tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag askstuffandthings. You can send me messages via Patreon. You'll go right to the front of the line if you do that. And then I also try to go through YouTube comments, pick out some good ones, good feedback and questions. I'm gonna try to rush through these a little bit because we're going kind of long. So first, via Patreon, we have one from Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre says, "Hey Bradley, as far as your last Sunday episode and losing your appetite, I 100% agree with you, and I think my wife is even worse about it. Sometimes just discussing certain gross subjects right around dinner, even without any visual aid, will put her off from food. She claims because of her artistic right brain thinking that vividly imagines these things. I'm more left brain. She claims that is that, okay, I think I'm missing something here, but maybe it is a man-woman thing. Just wanted to share that it's definitely a thing and can be much worse. Thanks. Thank you, Dr. Dre, for the feedback, and thanks for being a Patreon supporter. Next, via Twitter, we have nothing. Via YouTube, we have AS Pfeiffer. They say, hi, I have a question about Latakia. Is it a particular type of tea like Burley or Virginia, or does the name Latakia only refer to the process of curing the leaves? Either way, I'm curious to know what type of tea leaf is usually used in Latakia production. On that note, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about GLP's Maltese Falcon. I love your channel, so thanks for all the awesome videos. Thanks for the question. The interesting thing about tea varietals is that it's not so much that they're a different kind of tea, it's just where they are grown. And the fact that, you know, a lot of the oriental varietals that we have are grown in areas with less nitrogen in the soil. I think I'm remembering this correctly, in drier conditions, sometimes drought conditions. All these things can affect the flavor of the leaf, and then definitely the way that tea is cured makes a huge difference as well. So I'm not totally qualified to say, oh, well, it's this specific variety, but I do know that where you grow something has a huge amount of influence on the way it's going to taste. And then I think the biggest part, though, is the curing process that Latakia uses, or that they use to produce Latakia, a smoke-cured tea. Next, we have some feedback for the Sunday Stuff and Things from last week. This is from Lewis A. Bro, I think a lot of people have the gag reflex connected to the audio-visual experience, not just your girlfriend. All right, thank you, Lewis. I know that's true, but I was just curious, like, how many and how common is it? I mean, obviously I know. I've lived on this planet for a while now. I do know that many people say, like, oh, that made me lose my appetite. But I'm just curious, like, how much of that really is true and how much of that is kind of social conditioning? Like, oh, I've seen something gross and now it's expected of me that, like, oh, I don't want this food anymore. And how many people actually really viscerally feel that? Curious. Next, the tunnel take. I suggest slowly moving over to Rumble. Removing what is regulated, which doesn't mean it's illegal, has definitely crossed a line from freedom within legal realms to oppression by those who don't like what is legal. Again, like, a lot of people are asking me or telling me that I should move to Rumble, move to Odyssey, all this doom and gloom about YouTube as a platform. I don't want to put myself in this position of defending YouTube because I don't agree with many of YouTube's policies, but as far as this particular situation that we've talked about for the 2 weeks previous, where there was a lot of panic about anything pipe-related being taken off of YouTube, that isn't happening. And I'm pretty sure that the only videos that have been removed were videos where people had direct links to products, like pipe-related products, in the descriptions of their videos, or were giving direct links within the video. That's against YouTube policy. You can't have any gun-related stuff. Somebody left a comment saying, oh, you can have gun-related stuff, like direct links. You can't. I used to do videos for Brownells. They would send me products, but they stopped doing that because YouTube stopped allowing you to have direct links to any website that sells anything gun-related, or at least if they also sell guns, then you cannot be linking to their website. So they stopped sending me products because it wasn't useful for them anymore. I don't agree with that, but that's the policy on YouTube, and I have not had any videos taken down other than the one I did where I talked about, I was reviewing a Danish pipe shop tea and I linked to that tea. That video got taken down, but that's the only one. I've had a couple age restricted, but that's it. I think we're fine. Next, from Cheesy Bacon. Again, do you have a backup of all your pipe videos so that in the unlikely but still possible event that the pipe content is removed, you can repopulate it on another site? And yes, I do have a giant hard drive with all my videos on it. And believe me, it is a giant hard drive. Next, from Gordy. The YouTube tea apocalypse is overblown in my opinion. I don't agree with their rules, but we're still free to post. Agreed. They continue on, but I'm gonna have to cut this because I just need to get through this. Wade Hampton. While I am not generally fond of the road worn look, talking about the bass, the video I'd posted on Wednesday, I think I like this one. They didn't go crazy with the grinder and ice pick, they kept it reasonable. As far as it goes, it's a really cool bass. I think that you were wise to start with a short scale, much easier to play than their long scale cousins. It's just my preference, but I take the foam mute off ASAP. Bradley. It will allow the instrument to breathe and sustain. It sounds bad to my ears, overly muted and completely dead. The flat wound strings are really all you need to get that smooth Motown thump. Yeah, I play with the mute, I play without the mute. The thing that I'm kind of trying to kill with the mute though is the sustain, because in some situations when I'm playing, I don't want notes to be running into each other, and I want to play as if they would ring and sustain, but not have them actually ring and sustain. So meaning I don't want to have to mute each string after I play it. It's kind of complicated, but anyway, it has its purpose, and sometimes I don't play with it, sometimes I do. Next, from Bim Scootney, cool bass. I played bass for a number of years and it's a fun instrument. Any idea for bass amp? As far as appetite, after seeing gnarly stuff, the only thing that gets me is when I go to a viewing at a funeral home. Kills my appetite, especially for meat. Meanwhile, I can see pictures of medical procedures or accident scenes and it doesn't affect my appetite. Interesting. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get a bass amp because I never intend to play live with the bass, and a lot of people just record bass directly into their console, and it sounds pretty good directly into my universal audio interface. Next, from David Dixon, I've never had anything make me lose my appetite. My appetite is not tied to visual images or bad odors. Thank you. And last, from one of our few female viewers. We really appreciate all of you female viewers out there. From Hallie's Ledger and Lace. I always appreciate Ranty Brad, so I'll have to check out a review for something I would not buy. So that was the McConnell original Madura. I'm with Diamond, my fiance, although I think pet rats are cute, so I probably wouldn't lose my appetite for that, unless they were doing something disgusting. I often eat while catching up on videos, but can't watch things like Dr. Mike or anything that might be gross, like barfing rats. Dr. Mike? I don't know who that is. Is that a YouTube person? Maybe they do gross things on YouTube, I'm not sure. Anyway, thank you for all the feedback. I always love hearing what you guys think of whatever subject it was that I was discussing on that particular week. It's really cool to get your perspectives. But now, Lord above, I don't know if I'm gonna get in under 28 minutes or 30 minutes before this thing shuts off, because you only have a 30-minute record limit. So let us quickly get to the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. People, you're much appreciated. Everyone who supports this channel on Patreon, you help make these channels go. This channel and Stuff and Things Plays. The fancy camera that is filming this video right now, the lights that are shining upon me, blends for review, other products that I purchase with my own money so we can review on the channel. It is much appreciated. If you would like to support the channels, there is a link in the description box below to our Patreon account. You can also hit that little super thanks button below this video if you would like to donate directly. But every week we thank those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Gloria Phillips, MDoftheNorth, and David Gaudreau. And of course the Maniacs, people like Peter Straub, Bob Magee, and Ashes of the Phoenix. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to watch the first impressions video of Fribourg and Treyer Special Brown Flake. We will have that German notebook. We will have a knife. We will have a bunch of other cool stuff on the channel coming up soon. Elden Ring every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Oh, I have very little time. But until next time, tell me to get up in your good Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things Plays. Oh, thank you. I'll see you later. I think I did it.